Hi everyone, it's Desiree. So I'm here, I'm going to show you something a little bit different. I'm going to show you how I swatched my alcohol markers. Now the alcohol markers that I have are my Prismacolor alcohol markers. I do like these. These are at a better price point than the Copics. I do have some Copics, but I don't believe I'm going to continue that collection. So when it comes to the Prismacolors, they don't have a chart that puts them in a color order. They kind of sort of do, but they don't. They have a numbering system as well, BP dash, and then they have their number. It doesn't make sense. Now, Copic did a great job with their numbering system. I, however, cannot figure it out, and I don't think I ever will. So, because I have to think about it. I don't want to think. Yeah. So, I do enjoy the Prismacolors. They do have a brush nib, they have a bullet nib, and I like those two ends. I don't need a chisel point. No, they cannot be refilled. You do have to replace when it goes dry, but again, they are at a better price point, and you can buy them individually. I do get mine from Blick Art, and I'll put that link down below. So what I do, now there was something that I did a while ago, but what I'm doing now is I'm taking the cardstock that I would use for my alcohol markers, and the cardstock that I use is my Neenah 80 pound. That is what I use for when I do an alcohol coloring. So with that, I grabbed a pen, I grabbed the cardstock, and I just have these strips. They are about 1.5 to 2 inches wide by 4 inches. So you can see that dot there. One end I can see the number, and then the other end is the color. So what I did previously was take the Neenah 80 pound, take this alcohol marker, scribble a spot. I got a punch, a circle punch, a hand punch, took that and glue dot it to the top because it was a flat surface. I sometimes got the right color because you can't rely on the ends that have the number. The color's off. But I needed something. I like to pull out a sheet and just look at the colors and already have those blends set instead of trying to figure it out every time I want a color. So here is my process. So what I do, now again, this will take a while, just like this video. So what I do is I write down the number, and that's what I did first. I wrote down the number on each of the markers, and then I'm like, you know what? I want to write down the color because I started just by putting the number, and that would be fine. But the thing is, when you go on to Blick Arts, if you have to replace it, you gotta know the name of the marker, the color that they give, whether it's, clay rose, crimson red, whatever it is, because that's how they order the colors, by the name, not the number. And sometimes searching for the number doesn't work. I'm just saying. So if you go to the area, the site on Blick Art, and say, okay, Prismacolor alcohol markers, go to where you're looking, they list all of them right on top. So if you do this, you do want to make sure that you write down the number. Or, I'm sorry, the name. So you can see that I've done this. So I've got the number, the BP, and then the number that it's associated and the name. I'm going to take the brush nib and I'm going to just scribble the color onto this card. I'm going to make sure that every time I scribble, I'm going to use the same amount. So if I only go down once, then each of the tags would have one coloring. If I go over it twice, then each of the cards were going to have me going over twice. Come down, go back up. I did it 3 times. Now, by doing that, you are using more ink, or you're putting down more ink. You're not using all of it from the marker. You have plenty left. I've had these for about, I'm going to say 2.5 years, and I have not replaced one yet. Now, I am not an everyday user of my alcohol markers, but I do a couple projects a week with my alcohol markers, so I do use them, but not like everybody else. So once I have the color scribbled on the tag, I'm going to set that aside because you do want them to dry. You want to know what that true color is and what that marker is going to give you. So I'm going to do this for all of the markers. Now for the Prismacolors, I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe there's close to 400 different shades. Now that includes, they have a set of neutral grays, they have a set of cool grays, warm grays, and I forgot, French grays. Okay, so you've got some brownish tones, some bluish tones, and so forth. And for each of those grays, there's like 9 or 10. All right, so you get a great gray selection. You also get about 10 of an umber brown. So you get the values. It goes by percentage, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way up to like 90%. So you get these beautiful hues of browns and grays and warm grays and all of that. So right there, there's about 50 of the markers that are just focusing in that area. I think their color range is great when it comes to the Prismacolors. But again, one of the drawbacks of me using these was every time I created a project or wanted to use them for my project, I would have to sit here, and even though I did those ends, the colors still weren't right. They just didn't work well. So I was finding I was having to scribble them down on a scratch piece of paper to find my colors. I mean, it would take me like an hour to 2 hours before I could start my project to get the blends that I was looking for, whether it was a 2, 3, 4, or maybe even a 5 color blend. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet and I'm going to do this now. So I recorded it for you. So that's why you're seeing here now. So you can see that I'm just going through writing down the name and writing down the colors. And I'm just filling those in. And I'm just doing this for all of the markers that I do have. I'm not going to try to start saying, okay, this is the blend that I'm looking for here, because a color that, even though these are the pinks that I'm looking at, I may have a shade of a pink, or maybe it's a shade of a tan that's going to go within one of these colors. Again, just because it's pink doesn't mean it's all pink. There could be some corals in there that could go with the corals. There could be, you know, like the clay rose. Well, that's more of a brownish color. So that could fall into the tans as well. So I go through each marker first and create these tags. I do not throw these tags out. I do keep them as well, because one of the things you want to remember when it comes to your alcohol markers, at least I find, is they are interchangeable. Maybe you're somebody that's got some Copics. Maybe you invested in the Arteza alcohol markers, which are great and a good price point for that person that's just starting. Maybe you have an alcohol marker from here, or maybe you have one of the Altenew sets. These are all interchangeable. They're alcohol markers, so they can be used with each other. So that's one of the reasons why I do keep these tags, and you'll see why in a moment. So again, going down, I'm coming back up, and then I go back down to get a nice solid coverage of color. The other beautiful thing when it comes to alcohol markers is they level out. Now, if you just put one layer down like that and left it like that, you would see those streaks. But when you put 2 or 3 layers down of the alcohol marker, it actually will level itself out. It's actually absorbing into the fibers of the paper. But remember, your paper, you do want it to be a smooth paper, not Bristol smooth. It's very porous, that paper. Even though there's a coating on it, the ink will immediately, sorry about that, go right into the paper. So you want to use a Nina 80 pound, the Solar Crest Smooth, or you want to use the Crafter Companion alcohol ink paper by Spectrum Noir. Or there's many papers out there, but you don't want to use a watercolor. You can, but again, you're going to use more ink, and you got to work pretty quick. So I do recommend using a smooth white cardstock. I do find the Nita 80 pound is the best. I work the best with it. I have not really tried any other papers that others have used. This is what I have in my stock. So these are all the pinks that I did, and you can see I've got one that looks like brown. You can see I have one that, you know, has got a mauvey color, and this is just a super bright pink. So these were all the ones that I felt were pink when I store them. So if you remember in my craft room view, when I gave you that tour, I have this box that sits in front of me. It's an old bottle box, and that's where I store them. So I stored them by color groups. I've changed that too. So these are all of the markers that I did. I made the piles based on where I pulled them out of their cubbies, based on the colors that I saw on the end. So now what we do, we kind of play like with a deck of cards, or at least this is what I do. So I just go through, you can see even that stack, it had some yellows in there. It had some golden yellows in there. And don't go by the name. Just because it says rose doesn't mean it's going to be the rose color that you think. Use your eye to look at these colors. So now I just play, okay, what's matching with what? I let my eye tell me. I don't look at the numbers because the numbers mean nothing for the Prismacolors. The sets blended could be, you can see at the top there, it says 208. I then go to 136. Now I just so happen to go a 137. Sometimes the numbers are next to each other, but very rarely. It's not going to happen. So look at your colors. You'll see the colors have bright lights with you. The lights that I use are like a natural light. So it's almost as if you're sitting outside. Natural light is the best when you're looking at these colors because you're going to see the true hues of them. So I'm okay to be inside. If you need to sit outside on a nice sunny day, perfect. Because this does take some time. This took me from start to finish, from cutting of the papers to coloring each of the swatches and writing their names and numbers down, to finally making or setting these up into their color groups that I feel blend well together, or I thought would blend well together, to creating my color chart sheet. This took approximately 7 to 8 hours. This was an all-day event. I was determined. Very much so. I was determined. I am very thankful, though, that it's done now. It's a long process. But in the long run, I find it's the best way for me to say, you know what? I have my color chart now. All I have to do is pull that out. This is the shade that I'm looking for this. This is the shade that I'm looking for this. For some of the colors, I could have 4 colors going right in a row. For some of them, maybe only 2. For some of the other ones, I may have 3. I let them gauge, because even though I may only have 2, I can always find that third depending upon the color that I want to pull in. But at least my color chart now will give me a start. And that's what I was looking to do. You can see just this little bit that I'm doing here. It's in real time. I did not speed up this video footage. I also did not show you all the video footage because, again, 7 to 8 hours. Could you imagine watching a video for 7 to 8 hours? I couldn't even watch a movie for 7 to 8 hours. So I think you all would have said, no, can't do that. I would have done that. So you can see I've started my blends there. You can see that one looks like it can go up there, but I still like it where I have it. So I do know I can take this to the reverse if I want. When it comes to my color chart, I can go back and forth. I can go from a light color to a dark and then go back to a light and have it be those two different hues. So it is an extremely long process. I know I've said that a lot, but it just takes time. It takes patience, and by all means, it does take your eyes. Now, if by chance maybe you can't see colors, maybe you struggle with that, some people can, have somebody with you that can help you with that, so that you would be able to get those blends. And then when it comes to your color charts, you could have, special identifiers on there so that you would still be able to create your cards and use alcohol markers and not be limited because of maybe that disability that you can't, see a true color. So keep that in mind too. You can definitely do that. But please know that once I got through all of this, once I figured all of this out, I did create a color chart. I did have that set up. So by all means, I will have my blog linked down below, as I always do, and you will be able to go to my blog and print out the blank color chart that I have and the way and the numbers that I used going across. Now, unfortunately, I didn't put the names of the colors on my color chart. All right. And I'll explain that once I get to that. But I did put the numbers. So like those top two, I put BP 280 and BP 8. So I know those two colors will go together. So as you build your collection, you can continue to fill in this chart. Know that all of the colors that are listed on there, it is 2 pages. Okay, so some of the grays are sitting on their own. Now, I don't foresee, I've had these, as I said, for about 2.5 years. I know they've been out longer. I don't know how long, and I don't believe that they're adding any more colors. So I think you may be safe with my color chart. I know I won't continue to build with this. I have plenty of colors, after putting that together, if that makes sense. You can see those 2 colors right there in the right-hand corner there that I'm about to pick up. They're very close. But again, they can go into other areas. I still have some that are separate. I still have that one section in there where it's going from light pink into a dark maroon, and it's spreading out. So again, you can set yours up any way that you want. However, if you're someone that's like, I could never do this, there is just no way I can do this, I will be able to provide that for you. And of course, it'll be available for free on my blog if you want to use that. Now, you want to make sure that when you do print out your chart, that you do print it down on the paper that you would use your alcohol markers on, because then you'll get your true colors. So you'll always know what that color will look like. So just a little bit of a tidbit, and we'll get into that more in a minute. So you can see I had them upside down where I was just looking at the colors. It's almost like you're creating your own paint swatch. You can buy those paint swatches, and fan it out and look at all your colors. So you can see here, these are the color sets that I have together. You can see all of the beautiful colors and the different hues that they do have that's available. And this is just part of it. This is not everything. So now that I have all of these set up, I grouped them together in lines because each one of these took up a line. So you can see I started to fill them in. Again, now this part takes a while too. Because remember, one side I had that color already printed on it. The other side, I need to look for this number. Now the number's also printed on the side of the barrel for the Prismacolors. So now I'm just looking at, okay, here for line 1, this is what I need. And I'm just looking for those. Now I'm actually going to number these, because it's actually based, what I have listed or have laid up on top there each one of those piles represents a row on my chart that I created. All right, because I typed this up. So I took all of those swatches and then said, okay, these are going here, these are going here, because I wanted to make sure I didn't break up any of the blends. I wanted the blends to be going across the line. So once I was done that, I was able to erase those numbers. But these are the blends that I have set up for my Prismacolor markers. I was so happy when I did this. And you can see I did keep these. I punched a hole in the top and put them on a ring. Because again, your alcohol markers are interchangeable. So I have this huge ring. I can fan it out. I can take this with me if I don't want to take my color chart with me and lose them, because you never know. I can't lose that. That was a lot of work going on there. But you can also see I'm going to pull in, I have another one, because I also did this process for the Artezas. I did it a little bit differently. I took the colors down, but now I'm able to fan those out, line these up together to see if I can get even more blends by incorporating that other set of alcohol markers. Just know that the Prismacolors I did purchase when it comes to the Artezas. I am fortunate that they did send them to me, and I'll show the review. I'll have that linked down below as well if you were interested in those. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it wasn't too long. It is a process, but if you wanted to do it, you can certainly do it. There are Copic color charts out there. I know Sandy Allnack has one that's available for sale, where it's all of the hexagons going around, and their color chart is already set for all of the blends that would go together. So again, I do hope that this was helpful. I do hope that you take that time. It is very helpful. If not, and if you own these Prismacolors, I've done the work for you, and again, it'll be linked down below. Thank you so much for stopping by and spending this little bit of time with me. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe. Make sure you ring the bell just to see what's coming up next. I hope everyone's having a great day. Take care, but remember what's most important. First, make sure if you have any questions or comments, leave those down below too, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But remember what's most important. Always be creative.